Welcome back to Untested Builds, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Comment your favorite fictional characters below, like and subscribe to be notified whenever we post a new build, and join the Patreon to vote in polls for upcoming videos and to make your own direct character requests. Today we're diving back into the DC universe and building our first true villain on the channel. And like basically every Batman character, Bane is just another what-if scenario for Bruce Wayne. Specifically, what if there was a boy with all of Bruce's intelligence, mental fortitude, and physical ability, but instead of having the resources of a billionaire, he was treated as a criminal and raised in one of the most dangerous and corrupt prisons on the planet, giving him the lofty goal of controlling the criminal element through brute force. Throw in some performance-enhancing poison, and you've got the actual villainous foil to the Cape Crusader. Really wish we could just stop focusing on the clown for a while. For our goals for this build, we need to be able to break the bat. We're going for full paralysis with our bare hands. Probably won't be able to punch him out for like 6 months, but definitely for a few rounds. Second, we need the skills to run our own criminal organization, whether through raw intimidation or strategic genius. And last, our greatest strength is our greatest weakness. We need a concoction of chemicals to give us the edge in combat and a body strong enough to survive it. For our stats, we're using the process outlined on page 20 of the core rulebook. Everything starts at 10, and depending on our ancestry, background, and class, we take different boosts and flaws to reach our level 1 stats. Strength is at 18, our arms are wider than the average man, even before we start juicing. Constitution at 14, if you're going to put illicit substances into your body, you might want some decent fortitude saves. Dexterity and intelligence, we were always the biggest guy in the prison, and we still know how to outmaneuver our enemies physically and mentally. Wisdom at 12, our willpower is our real superpower, and charisma starting at 10. We can intimidate with the best of them, but we prefer to rely on actions instead of words. For our skills, we're an expert in deception, diplomacy, and stealth thanks to our less than structured upbringing. Master in crafting and medicine, we didn't invent venom, but we know how to make more of it, and we are very intimate with its effects on the body. Legendary athletics, mostly for the devastating grapples. Legendary intimidation and underworld lore, kind of standard for an organized crime boss. And legendary survival. I can't remember how many pages in Nightfall are dedicated to Bane just casually stalking Batman through Gotham to get information on him, but we might have gone a little ham on that aspect of the character. Bane is a human, technically a metahuman, but I don't think being one of the only handful of people who can actually take venom without being instantly bodied is warrant enough to get a versatile heritage. Versatile humans gain a extra general feat in addition to their free ability boost. The fast recovery feat allows us to recover twice as many hit points from resting, reduce our drain condition by 2 instead of 1 on a night's rest, and reduce the stage of diseases and poisons we contract on success checks by 2 instead of 1 and by 3 instead of 2 on a critical success. We'll take the prisoner background for training in stealth and underworld lore, and the experienced smuggler feat, meaning the lowest we can roll to conceal an object from a passive observer is a 10. For some reason, no one ever checks the 8-foot tall guy in a full trench coat in case he's wearing a reinforced injection apparatus. For our ancestry feat, we survived solitary confinement without so much as a single window. The Gloomseer feat gives us low light vision on top of boring normal vision. We're going to lock in as a rogue, specifically a ruffian, to deal sneak attack damage and gain the critical specialization effects when attacking with any simple weapon with a D8 damage die or less. Fists are only D4s, but that's fine because we have sneak attack to deal an extra D6 of precision damage whenever we successfully strike a flat-footed foe with an agile or finesse weapon. We also get surprise attack to make all creatures who act after us in combat flat-footed to us whenever we roll deception or stealth for initiative. We also get a skill feat at every level. Battle medicine lets us spend an action to perform a check similar to treat wounds to regain an amount of hit points, but making the target immune to further battle medicine attempts for 1 day. For our class feat, Your Next lets us attempt to demoralize a foe with a +2 circumstance bonus as a reaction whenever we reduce an enemy's hit points to 0. We'll knock some sense into heroes and villains alike with brutal beating, so whenever we critically strike on an enemy and deal damage, they become frightened 1. For our skill feat, Assurance in Athletics allows us to forego the roll along with all other bonuses and penalties on a skill check in favor of a +10 proficiency bonus, meaning we can reliably grapple, trip, shove, and disarm our opponents during our 3rd action without worrying about that pesky multi-attack penalty. Level 3 rogues gain Deny Advantage, meaning we're no longer flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures, or to creatures using surprise attack if they're our level or lower, which is important when you're stalking a literal ninja. We get some extra help with that with the Experience Tracker feat to move at full speed while tracking by taking a -5 penalty to the check, at least until we become a master in survival. We become a bit more durable than the average ruffian with canny acumen to gain expert proficiency in fortitude saves, and we also automatically increase our fortitude proficiency to master automatically at level 17. We're gonna need that. We'll take the Dread Striker feat so that any creature with a frightened condition is also flat-footed to our attacks. We'll get most of our flat-footed off through grapples, but this is a good backup, especially if you get your next off mid-combat. For our skill feat, Powerful Leap ups our vertical leap from 3 feet to 5 feet and increases our horizontal leap by 5 feet. Kind of small bonus for now, but we'll do more with it down the line. Level 5 rogues gain weapon tricks to increase our proficiency in simple weapons, unarmed strikes, and rogue weapons to expert proficiency. We also gain the critical specialization effects of agile and finesse weapons even if we aren't attacking flat-footed creatures. But more importantly, our sneak attack damage increases to 2d6 precision damage. We'll take rapid mantle to use our athletics proficiency instead of our reflex for grab and edge attempts, and whenever we do, we can immediately pull ourselves up onto whatever ledge we grabbed. A lot of verticality needed to fight in Gotham, especially when your enemy has a grapple gun, and also a plane. There's also a lot of darkness in Gotham. The Darkseer Ancestry feat gives us dark vision because did you really think I was going to make a Bane video without darkness being his ally? We'll subsidize our lagging charisma mod, at least with respect to intimidation checks, with intimidating prowess to gain a +1 circumstance bonus to demoralize and coerce checks thanks to our 19 strength score. Once we have 20 strength, we get a +2 bonus instead. Take the shove down feat to attempt to trip a target as a free action whenever we succeed on a shove against them. A lot of efficiency in our combat style. Level 7 rogues gain evasion for master reflex saves and critical success results on regular successes, vigilant senses for master perception proficiency, and weapon specialization for an additional flat 2 damage with our expert attacks. We'll take incredible initiative for a +2 circumstance bonus on all of our initiative checks, which will help if we ever need to actually use our deception or stealth for initiative since we aren't really doing much to keep those competitive. For our skill feat, Hobnobber lets us gather information with our diplomacy in half the usual time. Kind of weird to think about Bane rubbing shoulders with townies in a bar trying to get the latest gossip, but if you want to rule/destroy Gotham, you need to do that bit of research. We'll take the Terrified Retreat feat to force creatures we succeed on a demoralized action against to flee for 1 round. For our class feat, Sly Striker lets us still deal some of our sneak attack damage even on targets that aren't flat-footed. Right now we still deal 1d6 damage, but at level 14 that guaranteed sneak attack damage increases to 2d6 instead. It's been fun building the biggest prison bully, but it's time to finally put the super in super villain. But first, level 9 rogues gain debilitating strikes to inflict a -10 foot speed penalty or the enfeeble condition till the end of our next turn as a free action whenever we hit a flat-footed enemy and deal damage. We also have great fortitude, increasing our fortitude saves to expert even though they already were. We finally get our venom courtesy of multi-talented for the alchemist dedication to gain alchemical crafting for some free common level 1 alchemical formulas that we can craft in our downtime. Except no one seems to like doing that, so we also get infused reagents to gain a number of reagents equal to our level that we can use during our daily preparations to create an alchemical item for free that we can use until our next daily prep. Now, there are 2 obvious go-to alchemical items to replicate venom. Bestial Mutagen gives a bonus to unarmed attack rolls and athletics checks along with a d4 claw attack and a d6 jaw attack, but at the cost of a -2 penalty to AC and reflex saves. It's honestly a pretty good stand-in for venom if you're only playing out of the core rulebook. But we're actually going to focus on the Juggernaut mutagen for 2 reasons. The penalty to will, perception, and initiative are manageable, and the temporary hit points will help cover one of the weaknesses we have going rogue in the first place, and the bonus to fortitude saves means we can have the best possible saves for all of the drugs we're going to be taking. If you've never looked into drugs in 2E, they work a bit like a cross between a mutagen and a poison. We get a benefit and a drawback, but they work in stages. We usually get a benefit in stage 1, then the drawbacks in later stages. So as long as we keep our fortitude up, we don't have to worry about the later stages. And what's more, unlike mutagens, we can be under the effects of multiple drugs at the same time. For now, we have Blood Sap, which gives us a +1 item bonus to weapon and armed attack rolls and athletics and acrobatics checks, but makes us drained 1. We can have this effect for potentially up to 3 hours, meaning we can pop this well in advance of any fights we have and then take our Juggernaut mutagen mid-fight to basically negate the drain condition we gained from the sap. At level 10, we'll pick up Expert Alchemy to increase our advanced alchemy level to 5, meaning we can use our infused reagents to make alchemical items up to level 5. Adding the moderate bestial and Juggernaut mutagens to our potential stack, but also a new drug, Zerk, for a +2 item bonus to perception rolls to initiative and an extra 2 damage on attacks during the first round of combat. We'll take the Hefty Hauler feat to increase our maximum and encumbered bulk limits by 2 so we can carry more alchemical items if we decide to craft or buy more than our daily infused reagents, but also because we're kind of supposed to have super strength. Level 11 rogues gain rogue expertise for expert rogue class DC and 3d6 of sneak attack damage. We're usually the biggest guy on the block, but we're still technically a medium creature, so Titan Wrestler lets us grapple, disarm, shove, and trip creatures up to 2 sizes larger than us and 3 sizes larger than us once we're legendary in athletics, so size will never be a factor for us again. For our general feat, Toughness increases our max HP by our level and reduces our recovery from dying checks to 9 plus our dying condition value rather than 10 plus. It's time to start breaking people. The Critical Debilitation's rogue feat lets us force a fortitude save as a debilitation whenever we critically succeed on an attack, slowing them by 1 if they succeed or by 2 if they fail, and paralyzing them until the end of our next turn if they critically fail. This is like one of only 2 abilities in the game that lets you paralyze someone with your bare hands, and I'm somehow amazed that it's not a barbarian thing. But it's not enough to crush their body, we also have to crush their soul too. The battle cry feat lets us demoralize as a free action whenever we roll initiative. Once we're legendary in intimidation, we can demoralize as a free action whenever we critically succeed on an attack roll. Level 13 rogues gain master tricks for master proficiency in simple weapons, unarmed strikes, and rogues weapons, light armor expertise for expert unarmored defense, and light armor and medium armor since we're a ruffian. We don't really have the dex to run around in a tank top when there are bullets and batarangs flying around, but Christopher Nolan gave us a sweet padded vest, so we're going with breastplates so we can keep our arms free to grow. Incredible Senses increases our perception proficiency to legendary, and improved evasion increases our reflex saves to legendary, gives us regular fails on critical fails, and half damage whenever we would fail a reflex save. For our ancestry feat, bounce back allows us to spend a free action when we recover from dying to ignore gaining the wounded condition. The continual recovery feat lets us use treat wounds on ourselves every 10 minutes rather than every hour. We've got enough things attacking us from the inside, the least we can do is keep our outside healthy. We'll keep the medicine train going with Godless Healing to heal an additional 5 HP whenever we benefit from battle medicine or treat wounds, and we also only become immune to battle medicine for 1 hour as opposed to 1 day. We'll take the Quick Alchemy feat to use an infused reagent to make an alchemical item as an action, so we don't have to try to predict how much of each drug and mutagen we'll need for the day during our daily preparations. Level 15 rogues gain double debilitation to apply 2 debilitations whenever we successfully damage a flat-footed enemy instead of just 1 effect. Greater weapon specialization increases our flat damage on our master proficiency attacks from 3 to 6. We'll take the Die Hard feat to die at dying 5 rather than dying 4, and we'll use Creighton's cognitive crossover to link our crafting knowledge with our medicine knowledge, so whenever we gain no information from a recall knowledge attempt in either skill, we can attempt a recall knowledge in the other skill as a reaction. Revivifying Mutagen allows us to spend an action to end the effects of a mutagen early to regain 1d6 hit points for every 2 item levels of the mutagen we're ending. Right now that's 3d6, but we're going to be making some more powerful mutagens soon. Venom affects more than just our upper body. The Cloud Jump feat potentially triples our long jump distance depending on how many actions we spend making the jump, and we can use our regular long jump calculation when performing high jumps. Level 17 rogues gain Slippery Minds from master will saves, and critical success results on regular successes to mentally recite football scores whenever we're interacting with psychic foes. And our sneak attack damage increases to 46 precision damage. We won't always be able to keep up with the bat with our jumping alone. The Quick Climber feat gives us a climb speed equal to our ground speed since we're legendary in athletics. We'll take the Stubborn Persistence ancestry feat to attempt a DC 17 flat check to ignore gaining the fatigue condition. Addiction withdrawals are nothing to mess around with, but we're a bit better at dealing with it than most. We'll take the Inventor skill feat so we can pull alchemical formulas directly from any source book we want without having to rely on whatever formulas you happen to come across in game. Which will come in handy because Master Alchemy increases our Advanced Alchemy level to 13, meaning we can now use our infused reagents to make the greater variants of Bestial and Juggernaut Mutagen, and we can add Plasma Hype to our drug cocktail for plus 10-foot status bonus to speed, as well as becoming Quickened, gaining an additional action each turn that we can use for a step, stride, or climb action. Level 19 rogues gain Light Armor Mastery for master proficiency in light armor and unarmored defense, as well as medium armor since we're a ruffian, and Master Strike, so whenever we strike a creature that is flat-footed and deal damage, the target makes a fortitude save against our class DC, enfeebling them on a success, paralyzing them on a fail, and our choice of paralyzing them, knocking them unconscious, or killing them outright on a critical failure. We'll start to take this empire building more seriously with Experienced Professional and Legendary Professional for regular fails on crit fails when attempting to earn income and to gain access to higher level jobs when using our underworld lore respectively. For our final skill feat, Legendary Survivalist allows us to survive indefinitely without food or water and to endure severe, extreme, and incredible cold and heat without taking damage through sheer force of will alone. For our capstone feat, Unstable Concoction allows us to use our Quick Alchemy to create alchemical items up to 2 level higher than our Advanced Alchemy level, meaning we can now use the major versions of Bestial and Juggernaut Mutagen when we need an even greater boost in combat. Used sparingly though, we have to spend an additional 3 reagents per item to make, so we can only access this a maximum 5 times per day, and only if we don't make anything else. But now that we're level 20, let's go over the pros and cons of this build. For starters, we're going to crit a lot more often than the average brute, inflicting a double dose of fear and flat-footed for a potential -4 to our target's AC, and boosting our own attack proficiency means we're a lot more likely that that sweet paralysis is going to get off and keep that crit train going right to our foe's early grave. We can also go hard in an extended fight too, with upwards of 320 HP with Juggernaut Mutagen up and the ability to regain HP mid-combat with Battle Medicine for a reliable 2d8 plus 30 hit points, or Revivifying Mutagen for a repeatable 8d6 hit points in a pinch. And it's not a core part of our build, but alchemists are always useful even outside of combat thanks to our ability to make a mutagen or elixir for basically any encounter we may need an edge in. Now for the elephant in the room, yes, we can stack all the benefits of the various drugs we can make, but they have a lot of drawbacks, not just mechanically, but also at the gaming table. They have a lot of drawbacks at higher stages, and we're going to fail a fortitude save eventually, and if one of those drawbacks happens to be the drain condition, we might end up having some running fortitude fails that can end up leaving us basically paralyzed instead of Batman. Cons to drugs part 2, they all have an extra set of stages called addiction that can leave us reeling even long term during downtime, and to make it even worse, they all need to be tracked separately. Meaning not only do we, or our GM, have to track our reagents, alchemical items, formulas, debilitations, mutagen drawbacks, and reactions, but also 2 sets of stages for each drug we take. You'll need Bane's Focus IRL just to get through a high level encounter with all of your tools at your disposal. Cons of drugs part 3, they bring some heavy real world connotations that not everyone is going to be too cozy with. You can get a good Bane approximation without Venom by taking a martial artist dedication for gorilla stance to get agile off of our unarmed strikes, and use multi-talented for a barbarian dedication instead. We still get better damage and temporary HP and a brutal combat style, but without nearly as much baggage. Thanks for tuning in to another build. If you're still here, why not subscribe? We post a new build every week. And if you want to help support the channel directly, join the Patreon to vote and polls for upcoming videos and make a priority character request. Or check out the Gumroad to download character sheets in exchange for a one-time donation. Until next time, have a good week, take care, and play more Pathfinder.